How to get Canadian permanent residency through the Provincial Nominee Program. For many skilled workers around the world, Canada remains a top destination for permanent residency. But with rising CRS cutoffs in the express entry system, not everyone qualifies through the federal route. That's where the Provincial Nominee Program, or PNP, comes in. In this video, we'll explore how the PNP works, how you can qualify, what provinces look for in candidates, and what it will cost you to apply through this pathway. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. For many foreign nationals seeking Canadian permanent residency, the Provincial Nominee Program may be the most suitable pathway. As of the time of writing, the Federal Express Entry System has 236,909 profiles, and the most recent CRS cutoffs for CEC draws in 2025 have ranged between 521 and 542. If you don't have a high CRS score or qualify for category-based draws, the PNP may be your best shot at gaining Canadian PR through economic immigration. How does getting PR through the PNP work? Obtaining permanent residency through the PNP is a two-step process. First, you must obtain a provincial nomination. After obtaining a provincial nomination, you'll apply for PR to the Canadian federal government's Immigration Department, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. To obtain a provincial or territorial nomination, you must demonstrate an intent to reside in the province or territory nominating you, in addition to fulfilling the requirements of the particular PNP stream. How to pursue the provincial nomination? To pursue a provincial nomination, you must meet the eligibility requirements for one of the PNP streams, and you must follow the process to be considered for that stream. How to determine which streams you are eligible for? There are over 80 PNP pathways. To determine which pathways you are eligible for, you must do your research or consult with an experienced immigration representative. In all cases, you will need to demonstrate an intent to reside in the province or territory from which you seek a nomination. Once you've determined that you're eligible for a pathway, the next step is to follow the consideration process for that pathway. How to be considered for provincial nomination? The province defines the consideration process for each stream. In general, consideration processes fall into one of the following types. Table here. The above table is for high-level reference only. Ensure that you read with close attention the province's program guide and application guide, and follow the instructions exactly. Remember that even if you meet all eligibility criteria, you are never guaranteed success in obtaining a provincial nomination. Nominations are issued at the discretion of the provincial officers. Base versus enhanced streams. Enhanced PNP streams are integrated with the Federal Express Entry System. To be eligible for an enhanced stream, you must always have a valid express entry profile, in addition to meeting all other stream requirements. Base PNPs do not integrate with express entry. The distinction between base and enhanced streams is relevant in three ways. Eligibility, what you need to qualify for a given stream. Consideration, the process followed to be considered for provincial nomination under that stream. Post-nomination, the process by which you can expect to obtain PR after having received a provincial nomination. Eligibility, the eligibility criteria you will be required to meet will differ depending on whether you're applying to a base or enhanced PNP stream. For both base and enhanced streams, typical eligibility criteria include, but are not limited to, age, education, job offer, language proficiency, and work experience. In the case of enhanced PNP streams, you will need to meet additional criteria. Enhanced streams. Enhanced streams are linked to the express entry system and are overseen at the federal and provincial levels. To qualify for an enhanced PNP stream, you must have an active express entry profile and meet the eligibility criteria for one of the following federal programs. Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Worker Program, or Federal Skilled Trades Program. The above programs all require a skilled occupation, not TER 0, 1, 2, or 3, so if your NOC is TER 4 or 5, you cannot qualify for enhanced PNP streams. You will also need to meet the settlement funds requirement for express entry based on the size of your family, unless you meet one of the exemptions for settlement funds. Express entry also requires you to have on your profile approved language test results, and educational credential assessments for any degree. The primary benefit of enhanced streams is faster processing time for your PR application after you receive a nomination and apply to the federal government for PR, typically 6 months for enhanced streams, compared to 12 months for base streams. Base streams, base PNP streams are managed by the province or territory independently from the Federal Express Entry System. You do not need to have an express entry profile to qualify for a base PNP stream. As a result, you don't need to meet the eligibility criteria for one of the 3 express entry managed programs. You don't need to have a TER 0, 1, 2, or 3 occupation, unless required by the PNP stream. You don't need settlement funds, unless the PNP stream itself requires them. You also don't need language test results or ECAs to be considered for many base PNPs, although you'll typically need these at the application stage. Some PNP streams have both a base and enhanced option. Consideration: the province or territory is responsible for determining the consideration process for each of their streams, and this process can vary depending on whether you want to be considered for a base stream or an enhanced stream. For base PNP streams, the consideration process will always be active, meaning you are required to take an action of some kind for the PNP to consider you as a candidate. When it comes to enhanced streams, the consideration process can be either active or passive. Active consideration. In the case of an active consideration process, you will follow a similar process to be considered, regardless of whether the stream is base or enhanced. An active consideration process can be either submitting a direct application to the PNP or submitting an expression of interest to enter the PNP's EOI pool. Direction application: applying directly to the PNP with a complete application, to be considered for nomination, which includes all necessary information and documentation required. The PNP will process your application, and if you're successful, will issue you a nomination. To be eligible for a direct application stream, you will typically require a job offer. Expression of interest pool: submitting an expression of interest through the province's online system, indicating you're interested in a stream. The province will tell you what information and documents to include in your EOI. Typically, less documentation is required at the EOI stage than for an application. The province will review EOI in the pool, and will typically periodically invite its preferred candidates to submit full applications for nomination. The difference regarding active enhanced streams, however, is that you are required to have a valid express entry profile to be considered. When submitting an application or an EOI for enhanced streams, you will usually have to include your express entry profile number and your job seeker validation code. Passive consideration. For enhanced passive streams, you will be automatically considered by the PNP based on your express entry profile. When creating your express entry profile, you will indicate which provinces or territories you'd be interested in living in. If you select a province that has an enhanced passive stream, and you meet their requirements, the province may send you a notification or letter of interest through the express entry system. Once you receive that notification or letter of interest, you can then apply for provincial nomination with a complete application. In the case of some passive streams, you can only apply if you receive a letter of interest. You cannot ask them to consider you without it. For some passive PNP streams, the province will look at the primary occupation you have selected on your express entry profile. You may wish to research enhanced passive streams to ensure that you select a primary NOC that allows you to be considered. Post-nomination, obtaining PR through the PNP will look different depending on whether you received a provincial nomination through a base or enhanced stream. Base streams: if you've been nominated by a province through a base stream, you will receive a provincial nomination certificate, which makes you eligible to apply directly to IRCC for permanent residence with a completed application. You are expected to submit your PR application through the permanent residence portal unless you require special accommodations. The current processing time for non-express entry applications for provincial immigration is approximately 21 months. Enhanced streams. For an express entry aligned PNP stream, you will have to update, or in some instances, create, your express entry profile and indicate you've received a provincial nomination. The province or territory will be responsible for confirming their nomination electronically. To get this confirmation, you must directly contact the province through their desired method, this varies by province or territory, and provide them your express entry profile number and job seeker validation code. Once the province provides confirmation, you will have 30 calendar days to accept the nomination. If you accept it, you will then be awarded 600 additional CRS points, which will significantly increase your chance of receiving an invitation to apply for PR in an upcoming express entry draw. After receiving an ITA from the federal government in an express entry draw, you can respond to the ITA with a complete application for PR. The average processing time for permanent residence applications through express entry is 6 months. Costs to immigrate through the PNP. The costs associated with immigrating to Canada through a PNP can vary. If you're successful in obtaining PR through the PNP, start to finish, you can expect to pay a provincial application fee, federal permanent residence fees, and third-party fees for required documents and services. Provincial application fee. PNPs generally charge a single application fee when you submit a complete application for nomination. The fee range is lower for worker and graduate streams than for entrepreneur streams. Table here. In the case of EOI-based PNP programs, you'll only pay this fee when you apply for nomination, not when you submit your EOI. Federal immigration fees. You'll have to pay several federal immigration fees, and you may have to pay additional fees if you have more family members on your application. Table here. Third-party fees for required documents and services. The immigration process will also typically require you to pay fees to third parties, not to the government, to obtain the required documents or services you need for your immigration application. Table here. Provincial immigration targets slashed in half. PNP programs are expected to be more competitive in 2025, as a result of reduced allocations to the provinces from the federal government. In October of 2024, the federal government reduced the landings target for the PNP program from 110,000 in 2024 to 55,000 for 2025. In January of 2025, the federal government correspondingly halved the allocations of nominations to the PNPs and, for Atlantic provinces, spots for the Atlantic immigration program. Many PNPs delayed reopening, banned certain NOC codes, closed international graduate streams, tightened eligibility criteria, and/or chose to limit nominations to workers in certain in-demand occupations or sectors. Despite it now being more difficult to qualify for PNP programs, the PNP remains one of the best routes to Canadian economic PR for foreign nationals who don't have a high CRS score or qualify for category-based selection. Although recent changes in 2025 have made PNP streams more competitive due to reduced nomination allocations, this pathway continues to be one of the most practical options for candidates who don't meet express entry thresholds. With a clear understanding of eligibility, stream types, and the application process, you can still chart a strong course toward Canadian permanent residency through a provincial nomination. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.